Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Farah, and I work in brand and performance marketing at CrescentRating and HalalTrip. Our topic today is about power and purpose, the rise of Muslim women leaders in global travel. This is a conversation that I've been really looking forward to, and I will tell you why in a moment. But I think first, let me introduce the two women that joining me today. So the first we have Reem El Shafaki. Reem is a partner at DinarStandard, a growth strategy advisory firm where she leads the travel and tourism sector. For over 15 years now, she's been shaping halal travel strategy at the highest level, like advising government, working with global brands like Marriott and Thomson Reuters, and speaking to on the major industry stages, including the ITP Berlin. Assalamu alaikum, Reem. It's good to have you with us. How are you doing today?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah. It's great to be here and looking forward to our conversation, inshallah.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah, glad to hear that. And next, we have Raudha Zaini with us as well. Raudha is the Director of Operation at Crescent Rating and HalalTrip, and also someone I have the privilege of working alongside every day. For over a decade now, she's been leading global destination marketing projects and building partnerships that turn the idea of better travel for Muslim communities into something real. Assalamu alaikum, Raudha. How are you doing today?
Walaikum salam, Farah. Walaikum salam. Reem, glad to see you again. I'm happy to be on the panel with you again.
Same here. Same here, Raudha.
Alhamdulillah, so glad to have you both with us today. Yeah, now as I mentioned before, that this conversation is, I think, quite personal to me as well. I think for a long time, the industry has talked about Muslim women mostly as a market to serve. Like they talk about halal food, private facilities, modest-friendly spaces. Of course, those things matter, but that's the only half of the picture, I think. While the other half is that Muslim women are also the ones shaping this industry, like leading teams, advising governments, building the products, and that side of the story is rarely told. So today I want to talk about both. I think I will start with Rim. There are really two conversation happening about Muslim women in the industry. The one is about us as a travelers, and one about us as leaders. And you see it at both. So, how do you experience that intersection? And maybe you can share honestly, where do you think the industry bigger blind spot is?
Um, that's very true, Farah. Yes, I do definitely experience both. Um, so as a traveler, I know how it is that when you plan a trip, you have to think through everything. Will the destination accommodate my needs? Will I feel safe, especially if I'm traveling alone or with female travelers? If I want to have some sort of a beach holiday, will I feel comfortable wearing my burkini, for example, if it's a non-Muslim country, or even if it's a Muslim country? Some countries ban the burkini in pools. Will I get stares? So all of that, it's a lot to think about and worry about and plan. So that's from the perspective of a traveler, and from DinarStandard's perspective, or from my perspective as following that research, doing that research, following the data, and as we cover the global Islamic economy, and Muslim-friendly travel, or travel in general, is one of those sectors. And I see that Muslim women traveler, they're not just asking for small accommodations that they need. They want to be able to fully travel, fully explore the destination, fully enjoy everything it has to offer in terms of recreation, while not compromising their values. Um, and then in terms of leadership in the industry, what I've noticed is that there are really surprisingly few Muslim leaders in travel, and even fewer in Muslim-friendly travel. And I'm really not sure why that gap is more visible in travel than the other sectors that we cover. So, for example, in fashion, in media, we do see women leaders, but it's so much less in travel. And I feel it's so important just in terms of meeting Muslim women needs. If you have Muslim women as leaders, it just becomes so natural. And I saw that when I visited Bera Alanya Hotel in Turkey. It's one of
Mm-hmm.
the beach resorts in Alanya. And the general manager of that resort is a woman. It's a family business, and she's been a general manager for a while. And I really felt the difference. Like, she understood that the resort's role was not just to provide halal food or be family friendly, have family friendly entertainment. It needed to be a place where families, and women included, felt they could relax without constantly worrying about their values, having to compromise their values. And so I feel the industry, yes, it's beginning to understand Muslim women as traveler, but it needs to better understand them as leaders, or put them in more in positions of leadership, or women need to grab these positions of leadership so they could be the decision makers.
Okay, I see, and I think that's good, right? And that's really a strong place to start the conversation with. I'd like to hear from Rhoda as well. Same question to you, but can you share your perspective from your seat, where you're building products from Muslim travelers who are being one yourself? How does that look from the inside of an organization?
Thanks, Farah. Yeah, I think something very exciting for us is, we released a Muslim woman in travel report in 2019. We got a lot of interest in that report. It was about 7 years ago. And we actually also just released an updated version of the report in 2026. So when we were looking at those two reports, and we're looking at, what are the different trends, what's the growth like, and it's really interesting because it just really shows that this segment is unwavering. They are really traveling a lot more than before. Even when we did the report in 2019, it was such um, a interesting topic that everyone wanted to kind of know more about, because it was such a undocumented segment. It was really not a talked about segment a lot, a little bit because maybe some still view it as taboo, but really what we were doing was just it was already a trend that was happening 7 years ago. And now today, we're seeing that growth, upwards growth, a lot more than ever. Like in 2019, the report, we found that Muslim women represented 45% of Muslim travelers globally. And in this year's report, the number has grown 48%. So that's about 90 million women travelers traveling in 2025. So the scale is huge. And this kind of duality in identity, I mean, we hear a lot of identity narrative in throughout the report as well, because Muslim women, they carry many roles in business settings, in the family settings. You're not just a mom, but you're also a daughter. You're not just you could be leaders. And the way you travel and the way you behave when you travel is also different depending on the company that you are with. So we see that Muslim women are increasingly recognized for the influence in travel planning. I think that's for sure from our research. They are very influential in decision making when it comes to trip planning. While basic services like halal food and all of that have improved, there are still some challenges that Muslim women travelers face when they go overseas. So I think we'll unpack that a little bit more in the conversation. But I think the bottom line is for Muslim travelers, I think the industry is doing a lot. I think we can see efforts like, for example, the resort that Reem was sharing. We see really intentional efforts, but it really is driven by the people behind it as well, right? Because it's run by a female, so she understands the needs. So again, it comes back to We need more Muslim women represented in positions of power, so that we're able to address their concerns better as well. So it is, um, it all plays into a bigger picture.
I see. Thank you, Rhoda. I think, yeah, I agree with it, and I also see that in the industry as well. And actually, it kind of brings me to something that I want to get a bit deeper on with you and Reem. I think I'll go with Reem first, since you had a front row seat in the room where global travel strategy gets made, like government level, advisory level, working with global brands. So, what I want to ask you is something that what's the difference between being in the room and actually being heard in the room, and how you have learned to navigate that over the years?
Sure. And first of all, I want to say I really appreciate that Crescent Rating has been highlighting women travelers and providing research and data on how important they are, that they are decision makers, and that they are a large segment. And this really helps. I feel putting data is very important. Now, in terms of your questions about being in the room and being heard, so first of all, I want to say that yes, women in general, they are in the rooms, and Alhamdulillah, I've been in rooms with tourism stakeholders, whether they are government entities or hospitality players or conference organizers, and so women are there, but sometimes or most of the time they're not the people shaping the strategy or making the final decisions. And so that is the one need that is missing. And what is interesting, I have one story to tell, is that sometimes even when you are invited in the room to speak about Muslim friendly travel, those very people don't don't really understand the most basic needs or the most basic tenets of what a Muslim woman needs. So years ago, I spoke at ITB Berlin, and that was in my early days at DinarStandard, and Muslim friendly travel was also still in its early days as a topic. And so I expected to speak in a small breakout room, but instead I found that I was speaking in a large ballroom of about 300 people. And this was a positive turning point for me because it showed me how the industry was interested and there was a real curiosity. But the example I wanted to provide was just a few minutes before going on stage, the logistics team who were checking on the wanted to give me the mic and all of that, and they said, "Well, just take off your hijab." Well, they said scarf. Just take off your scarf so I can. And that was a male technician, right in the middle of the ballroom, so I can fix your earpiece. It was over the ear mic, and that just shows they don't have that basic understanding. And it is, of course, it is our role to explain and let the industry know. But it's this small example just says a lot. You know, you can be invited to speak as an expert, but the environment you're in doesn't understand something very basic about you. And really, but this and other examples have taught me, and what Crescent Rating is doing as well, is that you have to be equipped with the data. When you need data, you need positive case studies, examples of countries who are doing it right, who are even non-Muslim countries who are able to successfully address the Muslim traveler and Muslim female travelers, and have the figures in terms of what is the size of this segment, what is the spend, what is the tour, what is the potential growth, and at the same time you need the other side, the other side, or the people that you're speaking with, to be open minded enough to look at this segment and understand that it is a lucrative segment worth addressing, and it's not it's yes, it's different than your mainstream tourism audience, but yet it is another segment that you could address effectively by just having a basic understanding and then doing what you can to address their needs.
Yeah, I think that's quite an experience, and I think what you're experiencing it names something that a lot of women in leadership feel, but maybe they could really say it out loud. And actually, what you're touching on, it's connected to what I want to ask Rhoda next, because there are the barriers that we name and also the barriers that we don't. So, Rhoda, we hear a lot about the physical barriers, right? Like lack of representation, limited networks, cultural expectation, and things that Reem just said that the people still don't understand what the um Muslim woman leaders needs. But I want to ask you about the ones that you don't really talk about, the barriers that are harder to point to, but you feel them all the time. And yeah, I'd like to know what are those for you.
Thanks, Farah. Yeah, I think I think just drawing on insights from again the report that we just released, because it's got a good framework of understanding what are the main pain points of Muslim women travelers. And I think what we have introduced is we call the PAINS framework, which is PAINS framework, which stands for five areas of concern: privacy, amenities, identity, networks, and safety, which are, this across the board for all Muslim women travelers are areas that we find are areas of concern. So it's the foundation of really inclusive service design, and remains the key to understanding this segment. So just to give an example, so privacy, I think obviously privacy and modesty are really fundamental needs, regardless of attire, regardless from where, what culture that you're from. If you're a Muslim woman, you want to you have priorities and needs where some destinations, when they enforce rigid dress code restrictions or provide facilities that lack adequate seclusion, that does not really fully address their requirements. And then you have identity, which is really navigating intersectionality. So Muslim women frequently navigate a lot of layered biases, right? So like I mentioned, we hold a lot of identities rooted in gender, ethnicity, faith, and expression. So identifying as a Muslim can really add an additional layer of potential prejudice in unfamiliar environments. So these are, some of the things that we struggle with, that we are concerned about, when we decide on which place to go, depending on who we are traveling with. And they're just more than just concerns, really, for the modern Muslim female travelers. So they're really primary benchmarks that we use to evaluate whether a destination is truly ready or not for them. So in order to ensure, if you really want to welcome this segment, that these five areas are fully addressed.
Nice, yeah. I really appreciate that you shared that, and yeah, I think it's not always easy to put words to these things that unusually stay unsaid. And I think yeah, Christian rating has already have uh, some kind of study to address that for Muslim travel. Yeah. Okay. So maybe moving on to Reem. So we'd like to understand more since you've advised destination and governments and on exactly this question. So what Muslim travelers actually need. And what I want to ask you is when you think about Muslim women travelers today, what's the moment where the industry still get it wrong and where, despite years of conversation around this, the gap is still quite wide?
I feel, and some of the things I'm going to say, I feel Rauda also addressed in the Crescent Rating framework, but I feel they look at the very basic needs, and um, in terms of just having the halal food, prayer spaces, but they don't look at how just feeling, for example, emotionally safe, both in terms of physical safety and emotional safety, that I will not be harassed, for example, for standing out as a Muslim because I'm wearing a hijab. Um, so one thing that the I feel the industry needs to be aware of is that women travelers need to have that confidence even before they travel. They need to have the confidence that when I arrive at the destination, I will feel safe, I will feel welcomed, I will have that privacy, as Rauda mentioned, um, and the destination will align to my values. So I think what the industry is missing is giving that assurance before Muslim women travel at the planning stage, and not having, as a traveler, to be scrambling around looking, gathering that information from scattered sources, from online reviews, from um, asking on WhatsApp groups, or looking here and there and trying to piece together that information. Providing that information in a very reassuring and complete way to Muslim travelers, I feel that goes a long way.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's really useful for everyone in the room to hear, especially I think the people who are shaping these decisions. And I think what you're describing makes me think about our next generation, because the standards we accept today shapes what young Muslim women coming up will think it's normal. So I think, Rhoda, this one is for you. So when you think back to when you were earlier in your career, or when you think about young Muslim women starting out today, what kind of representation would have actually made a difference? And I don't mean just seeing a Muslim woman in a panel. I mean like a deeper kind, the kind that shapes what feel possible to you.
Yeah. Um, I think I think even growing up, I think seeing representation in media was probably very influential in any young Muslim female. I think being shown possibilities in whatever kind of opportunities, whether sports, whether travel or whatever. If you're seeing someone that looks like you in skin and color, in attire, you would feel a lot more. I feel like the possibilities are endless, really. I think even now, of course, we are seeing a lot more representation, especially when we talk about um, advertising destinations who are advertising themselves to this segment in particular. We're seeing a lot more representation for sure. But I think sometimes it can be specific to a certain geographical area, or it may not appeal to all, right? So again, I think there's a lot more that can be done. We really see, I think, a very uh, I think also another perspective of it is, being so present on social media, as social media is so prevalent now. You see so many content creators who are unafraid to really venture and travel and share their experiences. I think some of the content creators that we have worked with, like Jasmine, based in Singapore, who is a Muslim revert, she shares about her journey becoming Muslim and also her travel stories. So that's very inspiring. Even now, where I am when I'm watching her, I cannot imagine. I can only imagine, like, for all the young Muslim women who are kind of looking up to her and what she represents and what she is able to do. Um, it can only, bring about, I think, more, hopefully, more Muslim women leaders of the next generation. I think that's what we want to see around the whole conversation that we have today. Is really more Muslim women in positions of leadership, so that they're able to again influence positively the next generation. So we're seeing a lot more content creators, and I think even our Halal Trip content creators thank event, which we had a couple of days ago. Um, in terms of applications that we have received, we're receiving a lot more Muslim women travelers applying from all around the world. So I think that's a very interesting statistic that we noticed.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that, Rhoda. I think what you were describing for a Muslim traveler, I mean, like from influencer, they're being brave to show what they need, what kind of travel experience that woman travelers should have. That's not something that the industry can manufacture. It has to come from real people being honest about real journeys. Yeah, I think that's actually bring us to where I want to end this conversation and discussion. We'll talk about a lot today, and like leadership barriers, travelers' experience, representation, and I'd like to ask you both one specific things. So, if you each had the power to change one thing, whether it's in the boardroom or at the departure gate, what would have the biggest impact on Muslim women in global travel? I think let's start with Reem.
I think the one thing I would change is have Muslim women as part of the design process from the beginning, not after the product has been designed, the hotel, the resort has been built, but um, and having them as an integral part of the decision making of shaping the experience. I think that would really having that role would make the experience so much more inclusive of women, and it's so much easier to have it built in from the beginning rather than trying to add it later. And so the industry needs to ask those questions from the beginning. Will a woman feel safe in this space? Will she be able to enjoy all the activities while keeping her privacy? So really having her involved in that experience, having the woman in the boardroom and writing the strategy rather than coming at the end. So that is one thing I would change.
Thank you. That's really clear one. I think let's go with Rhoda. Your turn. Same question.
Yeah, I resonate with Rim's opinion. I think similarly, I think what's missing is the absence. There's an absence of really systemic, visible inclusion and safety across the entire journey for Muslim women travelers. So I think what we need is really a fundamental shift where these needs are embedded into the very fabric of organizational policies, guidelines, rather than treated as an afterthought. Yeah, so I completely agree with what Rim said.
Understood. Yeah. Uh, I think that really great closing statement from both of you. So I think Reem and Rhoda, thank you so much. Thank you genuinely. This is the kind of conversation that I think this industry needs to be having a lot more of, not just on panel like this one, but in the rooms where the real decision got made, just like both of you saying. And thank you for everyone for joining us today. I really hope you walk away with at least one thing you are going to do differently, because honestly, that's what makes decision like this really matters. I think that's all from us. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.